I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public Schools District 39 this Monday, March 19th, 2018. We are at the McCallion Education Center. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here. Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
Thank you. And now we have Assistant Principal Elena Ryan to introduce Harper artists who showcase their artwork to celebrate Youth Art Month and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. My name's Elena Ryan. I'm the assistant principal at Harper and Ramona, and tonight I'm here with our principal, Dr. Kick, to welcome our first through fourth grade artists. Harper is extremely proud of our fine arts program, and when we had to select a group to come and do the pledge for you, we were excited to showcase the artists whose work is here in the boardroom tonight. So the students are going to introduce their names, their grade, and then describe which work of art over in the corner belongs to them.
My name is Ellie, and I'm in first grade, and I have a zebra painting, and it's black and white, and there's real grass on it.
My name's Marie, and I'm in first grade, and my painting is the one with like string coming off of it and patterns.
My name is Irina Mishustin, and I'm in fourth grade. My artwork is a tree with colorful leaves and really cool, circle.
My name's Eliza. I'm in fourth grade, and my artwork is a snowflake printmaking piece.
My name's Molly, and I'm in fourth grade, and my artwork is the Russian onion domes.
My name is Sophia. I'm in third grade, and my piece of artwork is a wave. My name is Daniel, and I'm in first grade, and mine is a piece of artwork with the towers at night.
My name is Grant, and I'm in second grade. My piece of artwork is a plate with weaving.
Please stand and join us for the pledge.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, students, and thank you for the beautiful artwork and the wonderful job leading us. In addition to the artwork of those students, we have on display this month in the boardroom and in the foyer a wonderful sampling of first through eighth grade student work from all 6 schools. Every March, we observe Youth Art Month by showcasing the talented student artwork created across the district. And Youth Art Month emphasizes the value of art education for all children and encourages quality school programs. And I heartily welcome folks to come and check out some of these beautiful pieces and the pieces in the lobby. It really is amazing what our students are doing. So thank you for that. At the beginning of the meeting, I'd like to remind folks that this is a community meeting and that we're among neighbors and community members. And so we ask that you ensure that you follow the rules and practices that we've established for such a meeting. And please remember to speak only when recognized, to treat each other kindly and with proper respect. And we discourage any extraneous noises or interruptions such as boos or cheers. So thank you very much for keeping that in mind tonight. And now I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes of the February 26, 2018 regular and executive session meetings and the minutes of the February 24th, 2018 special and executive session meetings.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 26, 2018 regular and executive session meetings and the minutes of the February 24th, 2018 special and executive session meetings.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded with a couple extra syllables in there. Board members, are there any comments or errors or omissions to the minutes? Okay. Seeing none, then all those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please indicate by saying yay.
Yay.
The motion carries by general consent. This is our first opportunity for the audience to address the board. And I will remind you that the rules of our meetings are that each audience member can address the board for 3 minutes during the first public comment section, which is now. So if anybody would like to address the board now, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we will move along. And that takes us to the committee reports. The first committee report is for School Finance Committee. So I am going to take that one. We met as a part of the Committee of the Whole on March 12th at 8 a.m. here in the McCallion Education Center. We had a couple of different topics for the School Finance Committee. The first one was, as I find it, the Special Education Transportation Contract. We had a bid process. We had 3 vendors submit bids. And we evaluated them across 6 criteria, including safety and comfort, stability, quality, familiarity, references, and technical expertise. Only 2 of the contracts were considered complete. And of those 2, each of the vendors received high marks. But in fact, the one that received slightly higher marks also happened to be the lowest cost. So that's North Shore Transit. And we will expect to approve that contract going forward. We did have a discussion there that one of the reasons that we only got 3 bids is because it's very important to our operations to have for the bus company to have a bus yard within 10 miles of the school district, which limits the bus companies that can bid or effectively bid. We also discussed the non-operating funds. And in this case, this is largely a debt service fund. That levy increases according to what we need to spend to service the fund. We discussed in conjunction with that the fact that this is the 3rd year and last year of an abatement in the levy for debt service. And so that reflects in a fund balance of negative $65,000. We discussed whether we had an opportunity to continue and do a further abatement, and we will hear more about that in the coming months. We also discussed the possibility of alternate forms of debt finance and whether there are other ways that we can work on our liquidity for a lower cost, but we have not yet found any that appear workable. And then we continued our expenditure review. Basically, we're going through all of our expenditures category by category, and I guess you could say take a fine-tooth comb to them. So far, we have worked on what the format of those reports should be and how we should present them. We feel comfortable with that now, and those reports are available. We've discussed world languages, transportation, and food service so far. And I think it's fair to say that we have not yet identified any places where we think that there would be significant savings in the near term. But we are going through the review to identify if we got into a situation where we had to identify savings, how would we think about where that is? And I think so far those reports have been helpful for that. So that's the report on the School Finance Committee. Next up is the Strategy Committee, and Ms. Schaaf.
Okay, so the Strategy Committee met the same day, March 12th, as a part of the Committee of the Whole. We talked about 2 topics. The first is instrumental music. At our February meeting, the survey consultant presented information obtained from our parent survey, noting sectionals needed to be addressed to minimize the frequency of pulling students out of academic classes. To this end, Callie Jackson and Katie Lee worked together to provide 3 options for band orchestra sectionals. And at the committee meeting, they reviewed the current practice as well as presenting the 3 options to improve the timing of sectionals. All involve increases in our staff and therefore increased operating costs, and these options and their associated costs will be presented in a report later this evening. The second topic at the Strategy Committee was kindergarten enrichment. In the last few months, as you know, we have been discussing how to offer a kindergarten enrichment program in District 39. The committee and the administration have calculated space and construction costs to offer kindergarten enrichment at all 4 elementary schools. We've reviewed estimates of operating costs to the program, and we've surveyed parent interest. At our March 12th committee meeting, the administration presented an alternative idea that would allow the district to offer kindergarten enrichment sooner and at a reduced upfront capital cost. Committee members discussed capital expenditures and timing, operating costs associated with offering a kindergarten enrichment program, and tuition options. A report about the current status of our kindergarten discussion will be presented later this evening. The next strategy committee meeting, as well as a finance meeting and probably facilities meeting, is April 9th.
Thank you, and that's correct. Next is our liaison reports, and I believe, Ellen, you have the CRC report. Is that correct?
Yes, the CRC met Monday, March 5th. Most of the meeting was spent listening and engaging in a presentation by Northwestern University Learning Sciences Professor Reed Stevens about his grant-funded research program, Fuse Studios. It's a student-led STEAM learning program that is currently being implemented in schools throughout the area, the country, and actually worldwide. The group discussed the program's relevance in relation to our district's personalized learning goals, or as Professor Stevens referred to in more modern scientific terminology, that of interest-driven STEAM learning. It was very interesting. This led to a discussion of the committee's definition of personalized learning and the possibility of utilizing the Fuse Studio program or something like it as a means to introduce personalized learning to our district. The notion that we could quickly introduce a robust, proven model and roll it out over an extended period of time with the vision of achieving the district's personalized learning goals in sight was a very exciting one. It was a fascinating presentation and discussion, and I actually really look forward to hearing the CRC's feedback on that discussion and their full committee report. The next CRC meeting is scheduled for April 9th.
Thank you, and I think next up is WICSE.
Yes, WICSE met today, a couple hours ago. We approved the 2019 fiscal year budget, the budget calendar and guidelines. WICSE is aligned with District 39's budget calendar, as District 39 is the fiscal agent of the WICSE. As well, we approved the projected expenditures for fiscal year 2019. WICSE's only expense is the cost for the annual yearly audit and the publishing of our annual report. These costs are shared equally between the two districts. We approved the annual summary of projected costs for fiscal year 2019, as well as the fiscal year to date activity through February. Lastly, we discussed that Avoca will continue to partner with District 39 for their summer special education classes. Their classes will be housed at both Ramona and WJHS this summer, 2 classes in each building, so that those students who are enrolled will have the opportunity to take advantage of District 39's broad range of summer enrichment classes. And our next meeting is going to be held at Mary Murphy on May 21st.
Just want to add one small eeny-weeny bit of clarification. We approved the draft budget. The actual budget gets approved by the school board in August.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee. And Lisa, I believe you have this report.
I do. The Parent-Teacher Behavior Advisory Committee met on March 13th here at the MEC at 4 o'clock. And just to refresh everybody's memory about what that is, this is a committee that's mandated to meet by the state. It's a group of parents, teachers, administrators, and a member of the board. It meets twice a year, and the agenda follows the requirements listed in the Illinois School Code. The committee met to review disciplinary policies, bus safety procedures, and procedures for using behavioral interventions according to board policy. It also reviewed the appendix to the 2017-18 Parent Handbook and the Transportation Handbook. The committee made the following recommendations. For policy 7-180, the policy requires that the district report on incidents of bullying. So the committee recommended an annual report at the end of the school year. And then at the beginning of the school year, the administration would share those findings with the staff. For student discipline, the committee recommended that we develop a procedure for handing discipline when there is a PTO event and no administrators are present. The administration agreed to create guidelines for PTO events and will add a specific addendum to the handbook. The administration will also create a code of conduct for students at PTO events. In regard to busing, the administration will add additional information in the parent handbook, such as student conduct on the bus and what parents should do when buses don't come. And that's it.
Great, thank you very much. That brings us to item C, our legislative update. And Tracy, I think you have that.
Great, thank you. Not a lot to report legislatively. Focus seems to be politically. But in any case, the Senate was in session this week and continued consideration of bills in both committees and on the Senate floor. The House was off this week, and both chambers will be out of session for the next 3 weeks for the general primary election and spring break. House returns to the Capitol on April 9th, while the Senate reconvenes on April 10th, where both chambers are scheduled to work steadily throughout April and May. That's it.
Great, thank you. And maybe as a public service announcement, we'll remind everybody that there is a primary election tomorrow. Next up is our information items and written communication, right?
Yes. The board received written communication from Kristen Dean of Youth Connection regarding the dissolution of Youth Connection, Sheila Prove and Michelle Leonardo regarding full-day kindergarten, and Evan Cannell regarding instrumental music sectionals. And then we have a few announcements. Should I just go right into them? Okay. You'll see that we have some polling materials here. So tomorrow, for the first time, the MEC will be a polling place in Wilmette, and we're really excited about that. In addition, this week, or excuse me, last Sunday, March 11th, all District 39 schools were represented at Go Green Wilmette. Green teams, students, teachers, administrators, and parents included displays of our sustainability efforts, a mini composting station, videos of student projects related to sustainability, and we continue to celebrate and be proud of District 39's events. Next, I'd like to introduce Angela DeMay. She's been selected as the new Assistant Director for Student Services. Following the retirement of our Dr. Thrasher, Dr. Romy Cristofaro was promoted as Interim Administrator for Student Services. Most recently, Angela has been in Barrington District 220. She served as first a learning behavior specialist, a special services coordinator, and is currently the Assistant Department Chair of Special Services. Angela received her BA and MSED at Northwest Missouri State University, a Certificate of Advanced Study from National Louis University, and she's presently working on a PhD from Concordia. Welcome, Angela. On the bottom.
That do it? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good evening. It's an honor to be here and an honor to be considered for, my next chapter in Wilmette District 39. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have a school board meeting change. The board agreed to change its 25th Board of Education meeting and reschedule it to Monday, June 18th. So we'll make a change in our calendar and let the world know about that after tonight. Next, we have a FOIA. The district received 2 FOIA this month, one from Paul Traynor of Hey Moon Media requesting all correspondences over the past 2 years relating to school funding levies or district taxes, suggested or enacted programs regarding racial sensitivity, anti-bullying, empathy training, or LGBTQ issues, along with any related FOIA requests. We also got our quarterly FOIA from Stephen Ciccelli of Smart Procedure requesting all purchasing records from November 8th, 2017 to present.
Great, thank you. And I think that brings us to our strategic plan updates.
Yes, we're going to start with kindergarten enrichment. This report is a mid-year update regarding a new 2017 strategic plan goal. But actually, this is a goal we've been considering for nearly a decade. I want to acknowledge that District 39 is responding to a broader parent request for a full-day kindergarten program. My aim is to offer a fee-based kindergarten enrichment program as a first step toward a full-day K program. So tonight we have a mid-year update to explore program options and related expenses. We'll have another update as early as next month. Katie Lee has this report along with Gail Buscemi and Becky Lippin.
Good evening. We're going to start with a little bit of history. As Dr. Lechner mentioned, the length of a kindergarten or school day has been a topic of interest for the district as well as our community for many years. And in 2008, the Community Review Committee recommended a study into the feasibility of a full-day kindergarten programming as part of their facilities report. Now, guided by this recommendation, the district began gauging parent and teacher interest, and the interest was high. However, the 2010-2011 referendum delayed further exploration. Being mindful of the cost, in May of 2012, a fee-based kindergarten enrichment program was presented to the Board of Education for consideration. In May of 2012 and then again in June of 2016, the expansion of kindergarten programming was tabled for the following reasons. There was a lack of sustainable space, consideration of fiscal responsibility, and academic benefits of the demographic did not align with our particular district's demographics. The experiences would not be maximized. And then longstanding private enrichment options within the community. In addition, the Illinois State Board of Education does not mandate kindergarten programming. Wilmette District 39 has offered half-day kindergarten under the Illinois School Code that provides for optional kindergarten attendance. And if District 39 elects to offer full-day kindergarten, then school code states that a half-day option must be offered for families. So based on past history, some may be wondering what's different about this year. As District 39 continue to hear from parents and community members, numerous parents have indicated a willingness to pay for an optional fee-based kindergarten enrichment program. Many parents pay private tuition currently, so they have expressed that an optional fee-based kindergarten enrichment program offered at their child's home school is of interest. So with full consideration to ISB mandates, school code, space and funding constraints, and the expressed interest by parents, the district is proposing the establishment of a sustainable kindergarten enrichment program as a first step toward the ultimate goal of offering full-day kindergarten in the future. District 39 began by asking STR architects to conduct a space study and provide an estimate of total construction costs. So during the Committee of the Whole meeting on December 11th, the firm shared the estimated construction cost to be $5,681,600 with completion for 2020-2021 school year. In addition, the estimated total program cost is $841,240. So using a 10-year projected recovery span of time, the estimated cost per student would be $6,489. So using this fiscal information as a guide, District 39 developed a survey to send to families, and Becky Littman will share the results of the kindergarten enrichment survey.
Thank you. We surveyed all of our EC through 4th grade parents by asking their input as we explored the feasibility of a sustainable, fee-based kindergarten enrichment program. The purpose of the survey was for parents to share with the district whether they would have utilized this kindergarten enrichment option in the district had it been available, or would they consider using it in the future. The Administrative Council collected and analyzed the results, and I'm here tonight to share them with you. You can see we have everyone represented. Principals emailed parents a link to the survey, so all elementary schools in the district are here. We separated out early childhood. We felt they had an important voice, obviously. And you can see Central, Harper, Mackenzie, and Ramona schools are all represented. Out of our 650 responses, 70% reported that their children had been a part of a kindergarten enrichment program outside of the district. Now earlier, Katie shared the estimated cost per student to be about $6,489, but for the purpose of the survey, we rounded that to $6,500. The survey itself shared the district is exploring the feasibility of a sustainable fee-based program. The per pupil yearly cost for a 5-day-a-week, 176 school day enrichment program is estimated to be $6,500 or $37 a day. As you can see, 68.8% of respondents shared that they would, in fact, participate in the proposed kindergarten enrichment program. Of course, we're curious about our people who took out the survey. So we found that 32.2% of those who completed our survey had a child 3 or younger. And of those, 71.6% of those participants with children under the age of 3 expressed interest. Of course, then we're curious and we want to dive even deeper, and we looked at our kindergarten parents. We found that 72.8% of those participants with current kindergartners expressed interest. And we took it one step further, and we looked at our first grade families. And 68% of our first grade families, families with first graders, explored interest in this program.
So as demonstrated by these results, families with young children were pretty consistent regarding their high interest in an enrichment program. So therefore, these survey results prompted exploration of space options, and now Gail Buscemi will discuss space and funding options.
There are two scenarios for classroom space. We can build classrooms for approximately $5.7 million or build modular classrooms for $1.1 million as laid out in this chart. Modular classrooms would be ready for the fiscal year 1920 school year, and building classrooms would possibly be ready for fiscal year 2021. Here is a picture of what a typical unit may look like. Each air-conditioned modular unit has an entrance area, 2 spacious classrooms, each with a full bathroom, and an entrance area. We are presenting 2 funding options. Option A is to charge fees based on a program cost of $4,145. This would be the same if we build or purchase modulars. In this option, the parents would pay 100% of the program cost. Option B is to charge a fee with the parents assuming all construction and program costs. If we build permanent classrooms, the optional fee would be $6,489 for 10 years in order to cover 100% of the cost. If we build modulars, the optional fee for 5 years would be $5,321, or over 10 years would be $4,733 in order to, again, cover 100% of our construction and program costs.
So District 39 will review space and funding options at the next Committee of the Whole meeting on April 9th, 2018. And this review will include the potential impact on fund balances for each space and funding option. We're happy to answer any questions.
Board members, are there any questions? Yep, go ahead.
Just to clarify, we talked about this at the committee, but I just want to repeat it. Parents have really been asking for full-day kindergarten versus full-day, adding an enrichment program. But the reason we're talking about enrichment is because if we offer full-day kindergarten, we would be unable to charge a fee. Am I correct?
That is correct.
So therefore, we're considering this option at this point to answer the call of the community, so to speak, and then at the same time with the intention of doing full-day kindergarten.
In the long term, that's correct.
Okay.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. I think, excuse me, Frank is not here tonight, but he did ask me to make one comment for him, which is that it is not, for the board, it is not clear to him that the goal is long-term full kindergarten. So I always feel a little uncomfortable trying to represent someone else's views, obviously, but he asked me to make that clear on his behalf, so I've done that. Other questions?
I have a question. So if we used the modular units, I see the advantages is, one, it's the capital expense is a lot lower, and two, we can put a kindergarten enrichment program in place, a full-day kindergarten enrichment program in place at least a year earlier than.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
But my question is this, so we have these modular units. Are we planning to go out 5 years, 10 years with those, or is the intention then, and maybe this is a Ray question, to then work on our capital improvements and expansion of our buildings so that we can bring those classrooms into our buildings?
Yeah, the answer is yes to both. We're giving the board future options, so this is a short-term solution. These units last for years, so technically they could last for many, many, many years, but this could also be a step in the way of a future addition as well. It could be both.
Right, and maybe if we use these for 5 years while we're planning that construction and raising money or saving money so that we can do this, maybe our school population would decrease somewhat. Maybe we wouldn't have to build as many classrooms, or so.
Yeah, for the last 10 years, we've been projecting lower student enrollment.
I know it hasn't happened, so.
Thankfully, we're a place people want to come.
No, and I think that's one reason why this program is so expensive for us, because we have to build classrooms at all 4 of our grade schools, which is, it's good that we have a lot of students. But
that's an excellent point, because our neighboring school districts were able to do it cost neutral because of declining enrollments and also extra space because of that.
Okay, thank you.
I saw a couple of things. One, I saw this as a really wonderful compromise or solution. I was surprised when I saw the modular units. I have a question though. We've surveyed parents of students, and I was wondering, because the different funding options does affect the greater community, the decision about which of the funding options we choose. Do we have is there a plan for another survey, a broader survey of the community?
Yeah, we're going to review this at the next committee of the whole, but the current plan is for the program piece to be cost neutral and a one-time investment on the part of the district based on fund balances. So that would be a future conversation.
Okay, and just one other, as I recall, it's just a question. It kind of goes off of Alice's question. The modular units, can those be sold? Do those have a resale value?
Yes. There actually is a market for those when we're done with them.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from board members? I have a very mechanical question. What number of students are we, what's the total number of students we're assuming in our projections when we say fully cover the costs?
So we're assuming attendance is around 300 students, and year 1 we're assuming 70% would enroll.
Okay, so around 210 enrollees.
Yes. And we literally went by the survey results because about 70% said that, so we're really being safe.
Okay, that was it. Thank you very much for the report. I think we're making good progress on various options. Oh, sorry, John has one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just thought of one.
A late arrival.
If we have greater enrollment than we're projecting, are we going to pass along the savings, I would assume?
You're exactly right. We can adjust that fee every single year as we do for our student fees. Good point.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the report. And I think that brings us on to the instrumental music report.
Yes, this is also a mid-year update regarding a new strategic plan goal. We have updates and recommendations. As a reminder, we're not done yet. This is still a mid-year report. We've got lots of growth to have. And with that, we have Kelly Jackson and Katie Lee.
Hi. District 39 offers an instrumental music program for students in grades 5 through 8. The program is currently shared between District 39 and Avoca District 37, with grades 7 and 8 orchestra students participating at Marie Murphy School in District 37. Feedback shared over many years of the program has included requests for a self-sufficient District 39 instrumental music program where both orchestra and band are housed in district. Parents have also expressed dissatisfaction with students being pulled out of core content classes for small group instrument-specific lessons called sectionals, as well as concerns about early morning rehearsal times. We've also been asked to consider alternative options to the existing instrumental music program, sometimes referred to as instrumental music light. The intent of the work this year is to honor the integrity of the well-established instrumental music program while looking to make improvements and considering new options for students. Year one goals for the instrumental music program, according to the 2017-18 strategic plan, include reviewing and defining the district philosophy of an instrumental music program, gathering input from parents and students about the program, planning for a self-sufficient instrumental music program in district, and investigating alternative options for instrumental music. This evening's report will give an update of work done thus far in each of these areas. First, the philosophy. In order to better define the District 39 position or philosophy of the instrumental music program, we had to determine whether the program is enrichment or if it should be part of the related arts program. If it were an enrichment program, it would be considered, it could be defined as extracurricular or co-curricular, whereas if it became a related art, so it would be part of the school day, that would be more of a true curricular program. For this reason, a survey was given in December, and that gave students and parents the opportunity to share their preferences regarding moving instrumental rehearsals to the school day as a related arts option. The survey data will be reviewed in more detail in a few minutes, but feedback on that survey indicated that when given the only option of moving rehearsals into the day as a related arts class, students and parents indicated they would prefer to keep rehearsals before school outside of the curricular program. This would mean that instrumental music could be defined as either extracurricular or co-curricular. A review of Board Policy 6-190 has been taking place at the same time as the survey feedback was gathered. The policy, which is slated for approval after third and final read this evening, states that co-curricular activities are purposeful and complement academic programming occurring beyond the traditional classroom. These activities are led by a state licensed staff member and funded through a shared cost between the district and student activity fees. Co-curricular activities are directly linked to district curriculum map, and in some cases may have a dedicated curriculum map specific to that activity. Examples may include science fair, student government, Model United Nations, band, orchestra, and choir. The instrumental music program, through the curriculum review process, also has a statement of curricular philosophy, stating that music is a unique form of human expression that is universal and essential. Music communicates ideas and emotion, and it's an independent and integral part of the development of the whole child. Through music education, District 39 students will become literate in the elements of music while developing performance skills and an appreciation of music. This is directly linked to the curricular music program in district. Tonight, we recommend defining the instrumental music program in District 39 as co-curricular. This is a starting point as we now look to see how defining the program as co-curricular will impact practices and options in our instrumental music program.
As Kelly shared, a survey was administered and we gathered input from all District 39 parents and students in grades 5 through 8 in December of 2017. So I have the pleasure of introducing Shannon Mitchell, who is the survey consultant. She will review the results with you.
We conducted a survey in December with 4 specific research objectives. As Kelly mentioned, we wanted to measure the level of acceptance and liking of the option of moving morning rehearsals to during the day and offering it in place of other related arts options, to understand the necessity of sectionals and how frequently students and parents wish they be conducted. Determine if there was a preference for band to be organized by skill level as opposed to its current organization scheme of by grade level. And then finally, to gain a better understanding of what if any barriers existed to participating in the band and orchestra program amongst those students who were not currently enrolled. We did conduct the survey. The survey was sent to all of the District 39 students and parents. We did receive feedback from 670 students and 910 parents, with band and orchestra represented at about 35% roughly between those two groups. We did look at all 4 of these groups independently, and throughout this presentation, were there any significant or interesting differences, we have called those out. So relative to the first research objective of understanding when given the choice if students and parents would prefer to keep morning rehearsals in the morning or move them to during the day as a related arts option, we found that overall students and parents do not want to sacrifice other related arts offerings in order to eliminate morning rehearsals. What we found was that 62% of current band and orchestra students and 72% of current band and orchestra parents either have no preference or would prefer to keep rehearsals in the morning as opposed to moving them to a related arts offering during the school day. Additionally, almost half of the current students said that they would prefer to keep rehearsals in the morning rather than giving up a related arts option. Many of them indicated that they felt that related arts really broadened their perspectives, and that was not something that they would want to give up. And in order to keep it, they were willing to keep morning rehearsals. Research objective 2 was to understand the importance and desired frequency of the sectionals instrument learning. And what we learned was that currently band and orchestra students and parents do feel that sectionals are extremely important to the development of the musical aptitude of the students. Weekly is considered the appropriate frequency for these sectionals to occur. However, as you all have heard, missing academic classes for sectionals is the main pain point for both students and parents in terms of participating in the band and orchestra program. What we saw is that 90% of students and 71% of parents indicate that sectionals are important to the development. And as mentioned, they would ask that the necessity of pulling students out of core classes be further reviewed to see if there was a way to minimize that impact. The desired frequency is weekly. Orchestra students were actually more likely to suggest that they wanted sectionals on an even more frequent basis, so even twice a week, than band students, but overall, the vast majority wanted them weekly or more often. Research objective 3 was to understand whether or not there was a desire to reorganize band to be organized by skill level as opposed to grade level so that it was more in line with how orchestra is currently organized. Overall, students and parents are comfortable or happy with the way that band is currently arranged by grade level, and there was not a strong desire to see that change. 76% of students and 68% of parents either had no preference or prefer that band be arranged by grade level, so no strong desire for change there. And finally, we looked at the different barriers that those students who were never enrolled in band or orchestra, or those who have formally been enrolled in band and orchestra and are no longer enrolled, listed in terms of why they're no longer or never participated. And as you're aware, getting up early for rehearsals and missing core curriculum classes were the 2 most commonly mentioned reasons. However, no longer being interested or not being interested in playing an instrument was also a high on the list, as was already having a lot going on. So as you can see, 64% of students and 54% of parents listed getting up early for sectionals or getting up early for rehearsals, And missing sectionals was also mentioned by over 50% of folks. But already having a lot going on was equally mentioned by as many people as well. So we are focusing on the key pain points, and everything else was fairly low in terms of reasons for not participating. So overall, the recommendation coming out of the survey was to explore alternatives to students having to miss academic courses in order to participate in sectionals, and then to monitor the schedule that is being used currently to rotate the classes that students are missing to ensure that it's actually working the way it was intended and that students are not continually missing the same class repeatedly, and to just kind of monitor and revisit that if it's found that that's not the case. Are there any questions?
Thank you. So we'd like to begin, since you have already heard the recommendations, with the current practices. So currently, instrumental sectional lessons are scheduled on a 5-day rotation, with students attending at least one sectional weekly. However, it's important to point out that current jazz band students at WJHS attend 2 sectionals weekly. And when attending sectionals, students miss classes in both core and non-core content areas, missing at least 6 classes in each content area over the course of the school year. Now, Kelly will return to the podium to share the 3 options considered to address concerns raised on the survey. Please note that all of these options assume that the number of sectionals requiring students in jazz band to miss another class will reduce to 1 per week.
Option A considers scheduling sectionals on a rotation through only related arts, world language, and PE, or physical education classes. This removes the concern of instructional interruption during core content area classes and would have students missing about 10 classes each throughout the course of the year in related arts, world language, and PE. In order to support this type of schedule, it would necessitate a net increase in FTE of 2.05. Just over 2 FTE, with an average cost of $151,792 and change. Option B considers scheduling sectionals on a rotation through only related arts and PE classes. This is considered world language with the content that builds from class to class. It removes the concern of instructional interruption, again, during core content area classes. As well. This option would have students missing about 15 classes of related arts and PE each over the course of the year. In order to support this type of schedule, again, it supports a similar increase in FTE. However, this is more difficult to schedule because of scheduling limitations in only 2 areas. So it could result in a further increase of staffing to accommodate this type of schedule. And option C is the 3rd option that we considered. This considers scheduling sectionals on an 8-day rotation through all classes. While still requiring students to miss core and non-core classes, it reduces the amount of classes missed in each content area by half because it extends the workday for band and orchestra staff. This option would reduce the number of classes throughout the year missed to between 3 and 4. Which is about 50% of the current practice. In order to support this schedule, it would necessitate a net increase in FTE of just over 1, with an average cost of $74,487 and change. Next steps include a recommendation of options to improve sectionals, strategies and schedules to make that happen, and related resources to improve the sectionals pull-out experience. Additionally, work must be done to finalize the plan to transition orchestra back to Wilmette Junior High and explore further options for the instrumental music program. With that, based on the work we've done exploring different formats for sectionals, tonight we recommend option C as a first step toward addressing these concerns. With option C, we would implement it next year, and then we would gather feedback. So we'd go back to parents and students, the same parents and students that indicated on the recent survey that this was a major pain point, and we'd evaluate the effectiveness of this first step, and then we would make changes accordingly. Now I will turn it over to Katie.
Kelly shared a little bit of this, but District 39 is preparing for the orchestra program transition. So what's been completed so far, that space for rehearsals, sectionals, and instrument storage has been identified. An inventory of instruments have been conducted, and staffing decisions will be made in the coming months. So all final plans will be shared at the end of the year. So based on feedback from parents, District 39 will explore alternative options for music programming. There is an expressed interest in offering students a less intensive band orchestra experience, perhaps as a part of a related arts offering at Wilmette Junior High School. We will gather input from parents and students regarding options for alternatives to the existing program late spring. Based on the feedback, District 39 will determine next steps. With that, we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, board members, do we have any questions? Go ahead.
It's not really a question, but more of a comment. So the first part of the strategic plan is about defining the district philosophy. And I find that defining it co-curricular, curricular, like that's just one piece of a definition. I wonder if we could talk about, when we talk about philosophy, are we creating a program that just defines, that serves those who want to be excellent musicians? Or do we want to serve and provide opportunities for more children? And I think that conversation is missing, and I hope that we can have it when defining philosophy.
I think I could respond to that a little bit. I want to thank you actually for including the very last point you made, because it's a point that you did not previously include in the past report. And I think that's a nod to the conversation that we did have about this. I think maybe not in the exact words that we all discussed it in. I think you're closer to what we were discussing. The notion of you know, we have a program right now that caters to excellence, and yet the survey taken clearly shows that there's still a large group of students that do not, for whatever reason, take advantage of that program, and we haven't identified why it is that those students aren't involved, and you know, and that's a question that we had discussed. We would like to answer possibly, you know, and so that therein lies, you know, do we want to define as a district that part of this question as a whole district about what is this music program as a whole? Is that getting to your question?
I think my question is that when you define a music philosophy, just saying it's co-curricular or not is not enough.
Because
we need a statement of philosophy that says what we're doing.
Because the part B that they were just talking about is is the beginning, I think, of addressing that question. And I don't even think we've asked, we're just starting to ask that question, that second piece. We haven't even asked that question yet.
Yes, so I'm thinking that we're going to continue this conversation, but I need to remind you, we have an amazing K-8 curriculum for music instruction for every single child. This program is an enrichment program.
No,
I just wanted to clarify that, because the philosophy is pretty well clear, but it doesn't mean that we can't move. It doesn't mean you're right. We can't move forward and take a look at our philosophy before we take our next step.
I think we've acknowledged that it's an excellent program. It's an outstanding program, producing outstanding musicians who are a part of it. I think.
But I was talking about.
I heard something different in what Ray was saying. We all acknowledge that it's excellent. I think what I heard in what Ray was saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is we have a curricular instrumental music program that we would have whether or not we had band or orchestra. We also have a band and orchestra program, which is the co-curricular part of our overall music. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you got it. And then the third step we haven't taken yet, which is exactly what Ellen was saying.
Okay, I get it. And then Lisa would like a definition of the program as in its entirety.
Well, I think.
Would you like to speak for yourself, Lisa?
What I heard in what Lisa was saying, and something that I also feel, is that there is a missing part of our philosophy, as you outlined it, and as it's in the curriculum. In particular, in my mind, it's missing for the co-curricular part of our activities. For the curricular part, it's for me a fine philosophy statement, because we don't have to, for that part, make any trade-offs between how many students we're teaching versus depth. That's defined. We're teaching them all, and they're getting whatever amount of time we devote to every student. That's what every student gets, almost, with maybe some exceptions, but generally that's that. For the band and orchestra part, the co-curricular part, it becomes a bit more of a give and take. So, for instance, I had forgotten the survey result, but the most two of the most cited reasons why people aren't in band or orchestra is because of a time commitment early in the morning, or because they're getting pulled out of academic classes. So we're making an implicit, we're balancing in an implicit way there between how much we're asking of students versus, which the more we ask, presumably the better they'll become, right? Versus the number of students that are participating. So I would like to see, and I guess this is at least part of what I hear Lisa saying, I would like to see a more, I would like to see an inclusion in our philosophy, some idea about how we're choosing to make that balance, why it is what it is. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think there's many points that all of you have made that are really ringing true to me and to Kelly and just the district. If I could offer, I think one of the reflections that I had was, one of the hallmarks of District 39 is how we provide access to learning enrichment opportunities that, maybe other students don't have access to. And I believe that the instrumental music program, the band and orchestra program, supports that philosophy of being able to provide such an enriching experience above and beyond what all the students receive in the music curriculum. If I could offer another example, one of the decisions we made for offering Mandarin, we have a world language program. We have many languages that are being promoted and taught well, and the students are really enjoying it. But I think that when that was posed to the board at one point to say, hey, is this a good idea? One of the hallmarks of the philosophy or the foundation, if you will, that decision was truly based on, are we going to be able to provide this opportunity that maybe other students may not have in other districts? So I do believe, I agree with you, Lisa, in that it is about access. It's about access to these enriching learning opportunities, and instrumental music program, the band and orchestra program specifically offers that above and beyond what any other district could offer for music curriculum.
Okay. I have another comment, but I wanted to see, Lisa, your words have been represented or misrepresented, so I just want to see how we're doing on that.
I just want to see if a third person wanted to try.
We have 2 fails so far, is that what you're telling us?
I clearly need to be clear in my statements. No, I'm fine.
Okay. I do have a question, a separate question, which is around the option C that you recommended. We discussed this in committee. There's an implicit hierarchy in the way that we're deciding to pull kids out of classes. And I think, although we didn't go over it too much tonight, right now, my understanding is your recommendation is the hierarchy should be Nutria, Math, and WIN is sort of at the top of the hierarchy. We're going to essentially never pull from those classes. The next level would be band, which can pull from any of the other classes, curricular, non-curricular. Beyond that would be curricular classes, so all of your other math, your science, social studies, writing, reading, and foreign languages, et cetera. And then last, I guess we could say other co-curricular activities, which I don't think pull from any classes during the day. So we're making an interesting choice on the hierarchy as to how we treat each one. Do you have any comment on how you came to the conclusion that that's the right educational philosophy to create that hierarchy as opposed to a different, like so some of the other options as we discussed imply a different hierarchy?
I can address the first layer of the Nutria, Math, and WIN, because the notion is that we want to offer that opportunity to everyone. Most of our enrollment, if you look at the band and orchestra, are students who happen to also be participants in the Nutria Math program. So, if we want to provide that open opportunity and open access, then we would need to make sure that those students who are participating in the band and orchestra program are available in order to do that. So that's one piece. For WIN, which is the way we meet the needs of our students in educationally, academically, and provide supports, we would like to prioritize that as a first level, and if at all possible, not pull from those classes where they are getting some additional instructional interventions.
Just like to add that for the priority, WIN for me is more important because of the needs that are there. It just works out for us wonderfully that Nutria Math, we have so many kids in the program that we can schedule it without a problem. It becomes a non-issue. So it is happening, and that's true, but it's also a wonderful scheduling problem, not a problem for us.
And I do believe that another point that Kelly made earlier was that there are other students who are part of the band and orchestra program that could also, utilize that period that others wouldn't be able to.
So I guess, so that was helpful. There's another piece of this, which is options A and B both make a different implicit hierarchy, right? So in option A, I believe we put band below other curricular classes, but above world languages and related arts and PE. And then in option B, I think, and I may be getting the options wrong, but in option B, we have Nutria, Math, and WIN, then all other curriculars, then band, and then just PE and, right. So I guess that's the piece that I'm wondering about in particular, is how we're choosing between our academic subjects where band should fit in the hierarchy, or orchestra and band. Sorry, I should be more careful. I was wondering if you all have an answer, but then I'd be interested to hear boards. Go ahead.
I can weigh in. For the option that we're recommending is multiple. There's multiple reasons for it. One is it's the most cost effective. We can step into it. It is also treats them equally because the rotation is then equal across all classes, and because of the extra dollars we put into it, which FTE means full-time equivalent or a staff member, our teachers would each be getting an overload, one extra period, and that frees up a bunch more opportunity to teach sectionals. So we could then not actually hire additional staff, but make overloads or extra time teaching for those teachers less expensive. And then as Katie indicated, we would follow up a year from now, next fall, through a survey from parents to say, is this really working? So we would improve the problem, and then we would review it a year from now.
So the clear reasons I heard were cost effectiveness and some, and then all academic classes are treated equally. But to be fair, they're all, except for WIN and Nutri-Math, and they're all treated at a lower level of hierarchy than band. Is that correct? Well, but band pulls from the other. So the band would be, all the other academic classes are equal, but they're all below band, as opposed to saying band is somewhere between the academic classes.
The survey results indicated that parents wanted to pull out during the day as opposed to a related arts. So we have to balance those needs or those requests. So I don't see us prioritizing band over it, but we're spreading the need for sectionals out equally across the entire curriculum program.
Mark, I was kind of thinking, since it pulls out of more classes, more of the different areas.
That's what I expected to hear,
You're trying
too.
to put band and the classes more in an even keel. You know, I wouldn't put band above them just because we're pulling out of them, because you're only missing 3 classes of each of the others. So to do a sectional, it kind of, to me, it almost seems like you're kind of you're not weighting them as much. You're kind of making them a little more equal. I don't know if that's helpful
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
I understand. The
Yeah.
hierarchy gets closer.
Closer.
But it's still, we're still
pulling
it's
out of
clear,
a class, yes.
I think, if I can interrupt just a second too, it's important to note also, if we have a student who, for example, struggles in math or struggles in reading, and it may not be in a WIN class, but is getting pulled for those, so option C, if it was 3 times over the course of a year from that reading class, we would work with the band teacher and the core content teacher to avoid that, missing that class, because that's a class that we clearly are going to prioritize for that student. So we do some of those flexible schedules for students for individual cases.
And does that apply also? I know we've had some parent letters about being forced to miss activities in a class that they, the Supreme Court, or excuse me, the mock Supreme Court cases and things like that. Do we have a formal way of recommending, students being able to say, hey, I really don't want to miss this, and then they don't have to, so they can choose it?
Yes, so a couple of things with that. Because of the fewer times, because of the larger rotation in option C, you would have better ability to schedule around those sorts of events. But also, we are working with the committee right now. We have some general education teachers on the committee, as well as our band and orchestra teachers, and they're going to put together some protocols to be followed for instances where there might be a special activity or a test or something like that, so that the teachers are working more collaboratively to make it more flexible, and students aren't getting caught in the middle of that.
Did you have, or Tracy, your light's on, I don't know
sorry,
if you had another.
Excuse me, I was just going to make the comment. I like option C in that it doesn't seem to give any favoritism or hierarchy or anything to classes. And I feel like it's an impossible question for you to answer as far as comparing band to that hierarchy. We're actually discussing this to make band possible. So it's not, I don't see it as a, deciding band override something for students who are participating in band and orchestra. It's a priority. We're having this conversation so that they can make that choice.
So I just want to be clear, I don't think anybody's discussing getting rid of band.
No,
I think that's,
I didn't
so
think that
it's
we
not
were
about
either.
making it possible. That's not the
I'm
case.
just saying the hierarchy, the whole question there, it's not about,
No, the hierarchy is because what you can pull from academic classes
Right.
to go to band. You don't pull from band to go to academic classes. You don't pull, frankly,
right.
the point that Frank has made in the past is we don't pull from science fair. We don't pull out of social studies to go to science fair. We don't pull out of something to go to choir. So
But the
there is a hierarchy here.
But the purpose for this, what we discovered through this first part of the survey, with current band parents, the same parents who were asking for changes, et cetera, preferred to have band stay the way it is outside of the school day, and agreed that sectionals were important. So I'm just saying it's difficult to say band's more important.
And I also overwhelmingly said that they would not like their kids pulled out of classes for sectionals. Lisa, did you have a choice, comment?
I did. I had a question, because I do believe that everybody knows here. I think that pulling children out of core classes is is problematic. I'm just wondering if costs were neutral in options A, B, and C, what would be your preferred choice? Is cost the driver, or is it other factors?
I think it's definitely one that needs to be considered. However, given all factors being the same, it would also be option C. It would be the equalizing of the opportunities and maximizing the number of periods that you can pull so that it does the least amount of impact on instruction across the board for band and orchestra sectionals as well as the core classes. And if I may, to address Mr. Steen, your concerns about kind of prioritizing band, I can understand that perspective. I hear what you're saying. And one of the things that we are doing in our committee, as Kelly shared, is that gen ed teachers and the instrumental music teachers are working together. One thing that we identified at the table, if I may be fully transparent, is that there is a lot put on the student, and we are making sure that there are structures from the teachers, from the instrumental music teachers. We're also coming up with what is a reasonable ask of the teachers who are like, what constitutes, hey, my student's going to stay in science, my student's going to stay in math, so that we could collaboratively work together on some of those reasons. And I think that you will see, it's not just a pulling out of the core, but a collaborative compromise, if you will, identified with real rationale as to why. Or if there's, for example, what will we do if a student has a test and is feeling like they're going to miss it and feel anxious about that? We're going to provide, if this, then this. If there's an assessment that day, here you go. Here's your option. So we are currently working on that. In the next meeting, we feel that we're going to finalize some of those.
I think that's really encouraging, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Go ahead.
I just want to make one point that I think is really important. Students that have IEPs already either give up related arts or world language for academic strategies. So if you focus the weight of pulling out of related arts and world languages for this program, then you're kind of double whammy against students who are already kind of at a deficit for their core classes, because they've already given up related arts or world language, and then you're basically kind of asking them to give up more in order to pursue music. So it's just something to think about. I think that that's a large part of our student body that is also a part of this music program to consider.
Yep, thank you. Any other comments or questions? John?
I don't want to be left out here. I thank you very much for preparing this and analyzing all the options. I see the third option as a good compromise to move forward. That's where I would go with it. I wonder, and I'm not clear, like what is the decision point? What's the next step?
There really, in the sense, there is not a next step, because that's our recommendation. So if you tell us to pull it, but it will be presented as part of the budget in May, because we're going to then build that into the budget for the May board meeting. So unless there's some strong opposition, we're just going to move forward, but then you would approve it at that time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? We're good? Okay, thanks very much for the report and the work. And that brings us to our annual business. The fiscal, you want to go ahead?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. Actually, you did an excellent job summarizing in the school finance committee meeting. So
so we're done.
I'm just going to turn it right over to Gail.
Great.
Buscemi.
So, as we mentioned, the non-operating funds, the first one is the debt service fund, which is used to pay our debt obligations. There is a planned deficit for fiscal year 19 of $64,000, and this planned deficit is due to the board-approved debt service levy abatement of $200,000 in order to give back to the community. This is the third year of this same abatement. We have a budgeted one transfer for to debt service fund, and this transfer of $799,000 is from the operations and maintenance fund to cover the debt certificate payments for fiscal year 19. We do this annually. Next is our capital projects fund, and this fund is used to pay for costs related to approved construction and improvements. This summer, the work will be completed is at Highcrest, and the cost for construction was approved last month. And our life safety fund, we can only use this fund for life safety work that's approved by the Illinois State Board of Education. The 10-year life safety study was completed in fiscal year 18, and a new list of projects that qualify as life safety was identified and submitted to ISB for approval. As you can see, there's no activity in this fund for fiscal year 19. The identified projects will be completed in fiscal year 19 using our operating funds. So there is in our total non-operating funds tentative budget, there is a projected fund balance at June 30th, 19 of $1.4 million in the non-operating funds as reflected in Exhibit D of our report. The School Finance Committee has reviewed the tentative budgets. Are there any further questions?
Board members? Great, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move forward next with our next report. And again, you did an excellent job summarizing our special ed transportation contract for fiscal year 1921. I'll hand it over to Gail Buscemi.
Thank you. Again, we had 3 bidders. We had to eliminate one vendor because we received a partial bid, so we considered this non-responsive, leaving our 2 remaining vendors. As we've mentioned, we did an evaluation matrix, and we ranked each of the remaining 2 vendors based on the information provided in their bid documents. Both vendors received high marks for all criteria selected. Once the score was determined, the cost factor was considered. North Shore Transit's bid proposal was the lowest for fiscal year 18-19 by $61,000. The percentage increase for fiscal year 20 and 21 was the same for both companies. So in addition, North Shore Transit kept their rates the same from fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 19, so there was no increase. The recommendation is to sign a 3-year contract with North Shore Transit, and we have been very satisfied with their level of service for the last 5 years. Are there any questions?
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, thank you very much. And that brings us to our board policy reviews for the month.
Yes, and we have a set of first read policies for this month, and Dr. Glowacki will give that review.
There are just a few more left in section 6, which is what we're reviewing this year. So if you have feedback or thoughts about the policies that were presented for first read, I'd appreciate that feedback.
And do you want to give us a deadline for feedback?
Yes.
What would that deadline be?
Yeah, I have it in a chart.
Okay.
So I have a note right here to make sure I give it to you again after tonight's meeting, because the first read is the first opportunity. Now you have a second opportunity.
So board members, just as a reminder, we're going through, so for everybody, there's nobody in particular. I've done that, we've all been guilty. So we're going to try and have the practice of having a deadline for our responses to first read, so that we wind up making sure that we get through these on first or second read, I should say. And as an exception to that, we also have the third and final reading of 6190, and that's on me.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So the third and hopefully final reading of 6190, it's been revised many times. I think the product is a good one, and it represents our practices and the activities that we currently have.
Any comments on the third reading of 6190? I just wanted to say, and I mentioned this already, but I think it's much clearer now than it was before. I really appreciate the work being done, that's been done. Okay. That being said, that moves us on to our second period for public comments. If there are any comments at this time, please come forward. And don't forget to state your name and community of residence, and we'll get a...
Good evening. I'm Erin Stone, and I live in Wilmette. I'd like to say a few words about the issue of extended day or full day kindergarten. Dr. Lechner said he's been looking at this or the district's been looking at this for a decade. I've been thinking about it for about that long as well, and I have done a complete 180 on the issue over time. I will confess that when deciding whether to move here 12 years ago, the fact that D39 had half-day kindergarten was one of the items in the plus column in favor of us moving here. And when my kids were in kindergarten, we had an absolute blast during that half-day when they weren't in school. We spent a lot of time at Wagner Farm. We spent a lot of time at the Botanic Gardens. A lot of times they had downtime where they were doing crafts in their room while I was trying to clean the house. And it was good times. However, I now work in a nearby school district and spent a whole year in a half-day kindergarten classroom a few years ago. That district was then considering switching to extended day kindergarten and has since done so. Having had that experience and having read the research, I'm now fully persuaded that the argument that wins the day in favor of eventually pursuing a program where all D39 students, regardless of who can pay to participate, can have an extended or full day program is that it is best practice, even in a district like D39. It allows kids and teachers to dive deeper into topics and not feel rushed through a half day crammed full of transitions. And for what it's worth, I think it would also allow for even more social emotional learning, which from where I'm sitting is more needed now than ever before. Obviously, pursuing this is going to cost a lot of money, which is no small thing. Just last night, I was at a little party for a fantasy baseball draft, and a very politically liberal friend of mine, who is a D39 parent, was complaining about his tax bill. And I know this is something that affects a lot of people in the district, especially people on fixed incomes. I appreciate your very careful approach to the matter and that you're doing it piece by piece. And over time, you're balancing a lot of competing interests. And I want to thank you for partaking in that balancing act. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great spring break.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? Okay. Seeing none, that moves us on to our action items for the evening, and the first is our consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Sure. I move to approve the personnel report dated March 19, 2018. I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing the honorable dismissal of teachers. I move to approve the 3-year contract covering fiscal years 2019 through 2021 for special education student transportation services with North Shore Transit. Award the base bid for fiscal year 19 for in-district special ed transportation as follows. Rate per day, $310.23 per bus per day, with an estimated annual amount of $273,002 for fiscal year 19. Award the base bid for fiscal year 19 for out-of-district special ed transportation as follows. Rate per round trip, $236.29 per bus per round trip, with an estimated annual amount of $415,870 for fiscal year 19. Rate per round trip, $310.23 per air-conditioned bus per round trip, with an estimated annual cost of $54,600 for fiscal year 19. Fiscal year activities, charters, and field trips are as follows. Rate per hour, $56 per hour, with minimum trip charge of $112, with an estimated annual cost of $35,280 for fiscal year 19. For fiscal year athletic trips as follows. Rate per hour, $56 per hour, with minimum trip charges of $84, with an estimated annual amount of $896 for fiscal year 19. Fiscal year summer school transportation as follows. Cost per triple tier, $310.23 per bus per day, with an estimated annual amount of $14,891 for fiscal year 19. And for fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21 as follows. There will be a percentage increase of 3% for fiscal year 20 and 3% for fiscal year 21. I move to approve the 2018-2019 Assistant Director for Student Services contract. I move to approve as first reading of revised Board of Education Policy 6:235, access to electronic networks, 6:240, field trips and community service, 6:241, student government, 6:250, volunteers, 6:255, assemblies and ceremonies, and 6:260, complaints about curriculum, instruction materials, and programs. And I move to approve as third and final reading of revised Board of Education Policy 6:190, extracurricular and co-curricular activities. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between February 27, 2018 and March 19, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $488,075.10. O&M Fund, $181,661.31. Transportation Fund, $155,592.29. Capital Projects, $126,961.42, for a total all funds of $952,290.12. And I move to approve the manual checks issued between February 27, 2018 and March 19, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $343,828.60. O&M Fund, $2,984.21. Transportation Fund, $128.46. Tort Fund, $905, for a total of all funds, $347,846.27.
Motion has been made. Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Thank you. And now we have an update on the superintendent search firm selection. So we, as you know, Dr. Lechner has decided to retire, and so we have begun the process to find a search firm to help us with the search for Dr. Lechner's replacement. Tonight we have started our process, and we have 3 firms to bid. Now, the board knows that previously the process we had outlined was that we will select 3 firms in an alternative. We only have 3 firms, so unless there's any objections, we will invite all 3 of those firms to come and interview with us. Everybody good? Okay. I think that's all we need to do on that. And that takes us to the conference items. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Is there any good in welfare? Great, thank you very much. May I seek a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the student discipline, specific personnel, and to review the executive session minutes and executive session recordings for disposal in accordance with policy 2:220.
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss student discipline, specific personnel, and review executive session minutes and executive session recordings for disposal in accordance with policy 2:220.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
Tracy. Say yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The motion is carried, and we are now adjourned to executive session. The time is 8:27-ish.